This is a 2022 Volkswagen Golf GTI 2.0 TS Mark 8. And it's the least expensive Golf you can buy in the United States. Mark 8 means it is the 8th generation Volkswagen Golf, and 2022 is the first year you can get it. For 2023, the GTI is largely carryover. However, Volkswagen did make some fancier LED headlights standard and tweaked the styling just a little bit. Coming later on, there will also be a 40th anniversary edition of the Volkswagen Golf to celebrate 40 years of being sold here in the United States. This particular GTI is painted in what's called Reflex Silver Metallic, which is one of 3 standard paints and one of 6 paints total for the GTI S. And the S means that we're actually in the base of 3 trims available on GTI below the SE and Autobahn trims. And that means that we do go without keyless access to the car or adaptive shock absorbers. But actually, even in the standard GTI, you get a lot of comforts in this car, and I'll show you that in a moment. My name is Robin Warner, by the way, an experienced engineer and magazine editor, and my 40th special edition has come and gone. I review all kinds of cars, from a $25,000 Ford Maverick to a $425,000 Rolls-Royce Cullinan. I'll happily jump into Honda Accords, BMW M3s, and Porsche 911 GT3s. And I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for the 2022 Volkswagen Golf GTI is $30,975. My test car does have one optional extra of sorts. That is $800 more for the 7-speed dual clutch transmission, which Volkswagen calls DSG. So it cost $31,775. And if you do go for the top trim Volkswagen GTI Autobahn, that starts at $39,425. All right, with all that, I think now is a good time to pull over and take a closer look at the outside and inside of this GTI. The first generation Volkswagen Golf GTI came to the United States in 1983, and what we are looking at now is the Mark 8, the 8th generation version of this car. It has definitely grown, but it's definitely gotten more sophisticated as well, and I think looks awfully good. From the front, you have this big and bold Volkswagen logo right there, and this what I think really nice and tasteful red stripe running across just beneath the hood. GTI logo just underneath that, and then we've got this really cool hexagonal pattern shaped lower grille right here. It really just broadens the width of this car really nicely and adds the right amount of presence that the Volkswagen GTI deserves. Coupled with that are these really nice, elegant, and pretty mean looking front headlights right here. All of it together, I think, is a great front end. This 5-door Volkswagen Golf GTI is growing. And I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen right now and quickly let you know that I have a full set of specs in the description. But both the front and rear overhangs are quite short, and I think this car has a really nice presence low to the ground. Its ground clearance is actually under 5 inches, and it gives you this really nice sleek 2-box shape. The front windshield is steeply raked, and then you just have this nice smooth flowing line right to this rear spoiler right here. Rear spoilers can be cheesy, but this one is subtle and I think looks good and looks tasteful. Plus, this 5-door layout does grant you a lot of space inside, which we'll get to in just a moment. 18-inch aluminum wheels is what you get on the base S Volkswagen Golf GTI, and those are Pirelli P0 all-season tires wrapped around them. You do get these nice big red calipers and pretty decent size brake rotors as well. And this does ride on an aluminum subframe now. And big brakes are nice in a car like this. It's still relatively light in today's car world, but it is growing and weighs well over 3,000 pounds. So we've got good brakes in front and in back as well. This is just a really good looking car from the back. GTI just beneath the Volkswagen logo right there. Really nice clean lines, sharp looking taillights, and true dual exhaust tips. Lovely, lovely. Since we're back here, might as well pop open the hatch and show you the amount of space we have inside. This is always a neat trick. That's clever switch placement right there. You get 20 cubic feet of storage behind the second row, and you do also have an adjustable floor here. So if you want it to be a little bit closer to the bumper line, you can actually raise the floor, but for maximum space you can have it lower like this. And if you want more than 20 cubic feet, that's easy enough to do, of course. And now you have 35 cubic feet of storage and room for two. Let's take a look inside. You don't need an SUV to provide space. We've got space, and we've got these really nice plaid stitching seats as well. These are cloth seats, and they are very, very comfortable. I am 5'11" or 181 centimeters tall, and I would say I have about an inch and a half of knee room. Also, my legs are bent right around 90 degrees, maybe just a touch under, and the seat bottoms are actually pretty high, so I have decent thigh support. I am quite comfortable in this car. I also have a good inch of headroom as well, because we have no moonroof of any kind to take away from the headroom, so that's nice. We do have a couple of USB Type-C charge ports to use right there, and yes, mat pockets and stuff like that. And we do also have pockets up here in the upper part of the seat as well. And yes, if we don't have a third passenger in the middle here, we do have a center armrest and cup holders. How about that? But I'd say more importantly, even in the back seats, you see we have bolsters in the seats, upper and lower. You are not sitting on the seat, you are genuinely sitting in this seat. That is a very important touch, a very important detail. Anyway, let's go to the front. All Golf GTIs do get this ambient lighting you can see around, but you need to get an SE trim or up to get keyless entry. Anyway, just like the second row, we do have these lovely plaid stitching seats in the front row. We do have these fixed headrests, which I am going to talk about a little bit more in a minute. But much more importantly, we have deep, deep bolstering, both upper and lower. I mean, look at that. That is the entire width of my hand in both sides. Really, this seat holds you in place very, very well. Now, it is an interesting combination of manual and electronic adjust. So it is manually adjusting seat height, electronically adjusting seat back, manually adjusting fore aft. Takes a couple of seconds to get used to, but once you do, it's perfectly fine. And again, that takes weight out of this car. That is definitely a good thing. You do have tilt and telescope steering adjustment, and it is manually done right there. Usual controls on the door, no seat memory. That is a fully digital 10.25 inch, 10.25 inch instrument cluster screen right there. And right next to it is an 8-inch center console touchscreen. Now, if you go with an SE or an Autobahn level GTI, that would be a 10-inch screen. Push button start is down here in front of the Prindle. There is the instrument screen cluster lit up, but Volkswagen gives you lots of ways to adjust the screen if you want. First of all, if you scroll here, you can adjust a bunch of settings on this side. If you touch this button over here, you can adjust a bunch of things on this side. Or if you'd rather, you can just hit view right here and change between a lot of different options here. My preferred setup is a bit on the old-fashioned side, I will admit. You do get climate control, and it is done digitally right here on the center console touchscreen. You can see the temperature. You can also see that stock. I have heated seats, and I also have a heated steering wheel. Amongst the myriad of controls you get on this flat bottom steering wheel with the GTI logo right down there, you get a heated steering wheel. That is a really nice touch. Another really nice touch, you get 2 USB Type-C charge ports right there, and this is a Qi smartphone wireless touchpad right here. As you briefly saw when I started the car, this is a not at all standard looking Prindle. You get a couple cup holders down here and a cigarette plug style charge port right there. And if you want to hold the cup more securely than this, just press this button. Hey, and this is spring loaded to give you an adjustment size for the base of your cup. And it works really well, I have to say. Okay, drive modes. You get 4 drive modes and you access them right here. Eco, Comfort, Sport, and Custom. Also, this car does have adjustable stability control, but it's a little bit buried, so let me show you where that is briefly. First, you get to the main menu. Then you go to Vehicle. Then you go to Brakes. This gives you the option for the stability control system, and there are 3 different options. Activated, Sport, and Off. Sport keeps stability control on, but opens up the thresholds a little bit. Off turns it off completely. Off is required to use launch control. Yes, this GTI with the DSG has launch control, and that is a process as well. I will go through what that process is quickly when it's time for the acceleration test, which is coming soon. I think Volkswagen did a great job with the styling of the interior. I love the ambient lighting. I think they placed these 2 screens really well for your instrument cluster and your center console touchscreen. And because this car drives so well, it's just a pleasant place to be. Speaking of, let's get back to the drive. All right, let's dig into the powertrain, starting with the engine. This is a turbocharged 2-liter 4-cylinder engine, and it is called, yes, it has a name, the Mk8 EV4. And it is worthy of a name. This is a mighty good engine. To start, you get 241 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. And that torque peak comes at a very early 1,750 RPM. Volkswagen does not specifically tell us how long you hold that peak torque, but if it comes that early, it's gotta be held for a pretty darn long time. Peak horsepower does come at a slightly lowish 5,000 RPM, but this engine does rev well past that and holds its power pretty well, so no worries. This Evo 4 engine does have variable valve timing, variable valve lift, and it does also incorporate the exhaust manifold into the cylinder head itself to help be really efficient with heating up things that need to be heated up, mainly the catalytic converter, but that also gets really nice and hot air to the turbo nice and quickly, which helps it react more quickly. It is a direct fuel injection engine, and it has new injectors which squirt fuel at over 5,000 psi, 5,076 psi, which is nearly double than the Evo 3, which used 2,900 psi injectors, which that also seems pretty high. The point is, having such strong injectors that can squirt with so much pressure gives the engineers a lot of control over specific timing of combustion, which helps make combustion really good. 241 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. I'm not going to argue. Generally speaking, this engine is strong. At all levels of RPMs, you get good pull, and you get remarkably linear power delivery considering that it's turbocharged. It also makes great tones from the exhaust. It feels smooth, it feels balanced, it feels refined. It is a fantastic engine. One minor downside, at least for me, is that this is equipped with the dual clutch transmission, the DSG, as I stated. That is an $800 option, as I already mentioned, and it also adds 77 pounds of weight to the car. So it's more expensive and heavier, and most of that weight goes on the front axle. All bad things. A 6-speed manual transmission would definitely be more engaging, even if it's not as fast, or the fact that you lose a little bit of fuel efficiency. Okay, but with that quick manual transmission rant over, this is a very good dual clutch transmission, 7 speeds, gives you a lot of ratio range to work with, and it does also give you launch control. I will definitely show that to you in a moment. Another thing is an electronically controlled locking differential. This is a super fancy diff that is tied to the stability control and a myriad of other electronic controls on this car to accurately distribute torque across the front axle. And spoiler alert, it does a very good job. Not only that, as I said, this is the base trim, so it is in fact standard across the GTI lineup. And yes, it is slightly more fuel efficient as well. The numbers are actually pretty darn good. You get 25 miles to the gallon in the city, 34 miles to the gallon on the highway, 28 combined. That beats the manual transmission equipped GTIs by just a little because it's the same except for city, which is 24 miles to the gallon. But right, all that talk about electronically locking differentials and big horsepower for a small hot hatch. Right. Fuel economy, efficiency, very important, but not nearly as much fun as accelerating. And as I mentioned, we have launch control. Of course, I had to test it. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for an acceleration test. So I'm going to briefly go through the steps to put it in launch control while I'm parked off to the side, and then we'll go out and do it. Okay, go to the center console, you go to vehicle, then you go to settings, and then you go to brakes, and then from brakes you switch ESC from activated to off. Hit OK about the system. That beep is saying, hey, stability control has been deactivated. That is okay with me. Then you go to drive modes. I am in the sport drive mode, so I'll leave it there. Put the car in drive, but actually put it in sport. Time to get in position. All right, coming to a complete stop. Foot is hard on the brake, hitting the throttle. Launch control program active. About 4,000 RPMs, lift off the brake. Oh man, wow, goodness, fast shifts. Whoa, wow. Now, the launch was actually kind of soft. It kind of like rolled off kind of easily, but then once you got the full force of it, once you got the full acceleration, you had impressive acceleration. Yeah, actually a little bit soft, right? A little bit atypical to what launch control is really like. So I actually had to go and test it without the launch control. Let me show you that. All right, that was actually kind of a lackluster launch, so I'm gonna try it again without launch control. So still, everything is in sport, but now stability control is fully active, and I'm not gonna brake, torque, or anything, just gonna come to a stop and stab the throttle. Let's see what happens. All right, coming to a complete stop. Stab the throttle. That's the way we get a little bit of tire spin, and that's the way we get moving. This probably is more aggressive. Wow, this is definitely more aggressive. Wow, that was a much faster launch out of the hole, and then we still had the super fast shifts, and everything else was plenty aggressive. Wow, now that was better than launch control, and this thing is epically quick in a straight line. This little hot hatch, oh, so good. Of course, this is not called a hot hatch because it is fast in a straight line, and I'm quite curious to see how well this car handles. Before I do though, let me tell you that for the Mk8, Volkswagen put in a new front aluminum subframe and increased the spring rates both front and back, 5% in front, 15% in back compared to the Mk7 GTI. This has the potential to be good. Of course I had to test it. Let me show you that right now. All right, everybody, time for a handling test. I have the DSG in sport, I have stability control in sport, and I have drive mode in sport, and I'm in a GTI. This should be good, but this is a base GTI, so we do have all season tires. We'll see how it goes. No shortage of power here, man. Pretty decent grip actually, considering everything, and good chassis balance too. That was very little understeer. Yeah, this is good feeling from the car. It's easy to feel the limit in this thing, and man, it's enjoyable. That is a very nice limited slip differential doing some work for us too. Man, oh man. This 8th generation Volkswagen Golf GTI is quick. Oh man, great body control, even over the little whoops in the road. Man, yeah, I deliberately entered that corner too fast and it still handled it just fine. that's an impressive amount of grip from all-season tires. That Trick limited slip differential does great work to put the power down as you want, distributes the power really well. You have very little understeer, so the chassis balance is really fantastic. This does not have adaptive shocks, and yet it's a great tune of this base suspension, so I feel no need for adaptive shock absorbers. I'm comfortable enough when I'm driving regularly, but then I had great body control when we were really ripping it through some corners. So this 8th generation Volkswagen Golf GTI really does stay true to the hot hatch that it created all those years ago. It's just great fun to drive. Fantastic job. This has what I think is a great balance between ride quality and stiffness for handling. It is still, in my opinion, a plenty compliant ride. Goes over bumps and heaves on the road just fine. Yes, it's stiffer than your average little compact sedan, but no, not enough to be punishing in any way, shape, or form. And that is true for roads like this or on the interstate. So I had to test it there as well. Let me show you that. All right, time for a quick stint on the interstate. See how this 8th generation Volkswagen Golf GTI rides and feels at speed. We've also got this set of highway driving assist systems called IQ Drive, and we'll give that a try as well and see how it goes. All right, we are up to speed on the interstate, cruising at 78 miles an hour with traffic. At that vehicle speed, we're going around 2100 RPM engine speed, so pretty good. It's a little bit higher than some of the best out there, but the engine noise is very much in the background. It's nice and quiet. It's a distant hum, no problem. I'm hearing a touch more road noise than I expected. Wind noise is about what I expected. Not premium vehicle level here, but you know, on the high end for a mainstream product just like this. We are about to pass a tanker truck. We're reasonably isolated from that noise in the cabin. Yeah, not bad. We do have adaptive cruise control. That's operating just fine. We also have lane keep assist, so I'm going to go ahead and take my hands off the steering wheel now as we approach a subtle curve in the interstate. Oh, it was a bit late. Yep, it's a bit late. So this is a keep you from falling out of the lane. This is not a keep you in the center of the lane kind of system. Generally speaking, the center console touchscreen is easy to use. You have a lot of different choices with the instrument cluster and settings for that. A lot of different information you can choose to look at, which I like. But the seats are a tiny touch uncomfortable for me because you have a fixed headrest back here and it kind of bends forward. So it feels, my neck feels just a touch forward. So that is one demerit. Other than that, though, this is a very comfortable car in the interstate, and you have the hatchback for space as well, so I think this would be a great road trip car overall. The GTI has been with us for over 40 years now, and when I say us, I mean here in the United States. It's getting close to 50 years of existing throughout the world, and all that experience is shown in this car. This is just a brilliant, fun to drive little machine. It is less than 170 inches long, and yet it is pretty darn comfortable for 4 adults in here. The fact that you can get this much power, this engaging of a drive, and this much utility all in one package, starting not much more than 30 grand, is really, really impressive. Driver enthusiasts fell in love with the hot hatch because of this car, and for 8 generations now has continued to refine it. And all that means is that this is the car for folks that love driving. It still delivers that engagement, and yet it does it in a car that has a real broad approach that could fulfill a lot of different people's needs in an automobile. It's relatively efficient, it's relatively spacious, it's relatively inexpensive. And the features that Volkswagen offers on the base S trim are really good. Heated seats, heated steering wheel, wireless smartphone charging, all for just over 31 grand. Really, really good. The only thing that would keep me from just getting the S would be the seats with the lack of headrest adjustment. I might get used to it, but I might also prefer having a 12-way power adjusting seat so I fit in it just so. But again, I'm also beyond the 40th anniversary special edition, right? So younger folks might find it perfect just the way it is. I'm Robin Warner, thank you for watching. And if you are still watching, I would really appreciate it if you like this video. Doing so helps me out quite a bit. Okay, goodbye, and let's go. Oh man, great engine.